The College Football Playoff Committee will release their top 25. Top 25. And here is Nicole Auerbach, who's now a part of NBC, and she ranked her poll based on the teams. The top 4 will win their conference. Based on that, as of now, they would win the conference with Oregon, Georgia, Miami, BYU.
Well, yeah, it's going to be conference winners at the top.
That's why, And so somebody might say, wait a minute. And again, I'm not saying that it's you, but why is Texas or Ohio State behind, let's just say BYU, who's not getting a lot of, I guess you could say, zap, although they're in the top 10? Well, it's because those are the 4 highest-ranked conference champions. So those 4 are locked in. Then you get to the rest of them. The top 12, Ohio State, Texas, Indiana, Penn State. That's 3 of that's 3 Big Ten teams. Then Notre Dame, Independent, Tennessee, SMU, and also Boise State.
Yeah, I like how she did this. Like, part of my worry was, and it might still be, I don't know, but hopefully the committee will do it like this. But if you're going to put in, if the top 4 teams get a bye, well, that's the 4 highest ranked conference champions. That's how you need to rank this thing. And then if what I was worried about is they were going to rank Boise State like 19th and then be like, well, when the group of 5 team wins, we'll put them in anyway. Well, I don't think that that's right. You need to rank as if these are the 12 teams of the playoff now, as opposed to, the 4. Like, let's see what it's going to be.
Don't set up the menu based on – right now, if the college football playoff was to start next week, give us the 12 teams and how they would be ranked. That's what you need to do. That's what they've done here. SMU, inside the top 12, the ACC has Miami right there. And so SMU is right there under the umbrella. And then, of course, you mentioned Boise State from the Mountain West as the G5 highest-ranked champion. Craig?
Yeah, that's great to see her list, I guess. Seen a lot of different projections this afternoon, and I don't have any big thoughts on it because I'm waiting for the actual real thing. So it's another projection to look at. I guess it's interesting that the Big 12's got 1 team in BYU, and Iowa State losing last week knocked them into that first 4-out category for her. So I don't think that really comes as much of a surprise. You knew they were sort of teetering on thin ice as far as having more than 1 bid as it stood anyways, but certainly Iowa State losing knocks them out of any talk for at least a little while, and there's no one else really that's a great candidate to be above any of the other teams listed here. If Colorado won out, perhaps it would be them, but beyond that, with K-State also losing, there's nobody that's really a big contender outside of BYU being unbeaten at the moment. So, yeah, ACC's got a couple in there. We'll see if that holds, but I like that it's not necessarily just 10 teams from the SEC and the Big Ten, kind of like you feared it would be. You've got, Georgia, Texas, Tennessee, just 3 teams from the SEC on there. And then you've got Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana, Penn State. So the 4 to the Big Ten. So you got 4 Big Ten, 3 SEC, 1 Big 12, 1 independent, 2 ACC, and then Boise State, right? So you've got, I think, questions if you're Washington State about where you fall in this if you were to continue to win, and what kind of love does a school out of the Pac-2 get in the big picture. So I think that's a team to look out for tonight, and I'm just interested to see kind of how they situate them, because you'll hear plenty about how these first ones don't matter, and for the most part that's true because we know – year after year, they basically situated how they want to at the end regardless, but this does set the table, and this is the first plate. This is the first course, so I'm curious to see what that plate looks like and kind of how they arranged everything on said plate.
And Boise State, by the way, beat Washington State, so that's one that while they're up there, then Washington State, I'm not saying they're blocked out, but that does not help them with Boise right there with just the 1 loss.
Well, no, it doesn't, but that is their 1 loss would be a team that's in the playoff field. So I think that's not that bad of a loss. And I think I'm just talking more long-term. We got a month to go here. If you're looking outside of the Power 4 conferences, there's only so many teams that are actually legitimate. It's Boise State, and then it's who? Navy's been knocked out now. They're not in that conversation any longer. Notre Dame, we know, is basically an ACC team, even though they're an independent, so I don't even count them. Huh?
Army?
Yeah, I mean, they could be one, but I think another one is Washington State, potentially. So that's just, a team to kind of see where they're situated in the big picture. But, no, they're not going to have a big impression on tonight. It's just another one of those that you look at the whole top 25 and kind of see how it's arranged. I'm curious to see how the remainder of the Big 12 schools, like where is Iowa State after last week? They're a first 4 out here, so they'd still be within reach, but that was a bad loss. Where is K-State? Where is Colorado in this big picture as well? So that'll be all interesting to see, and then kind of see the verbiage that they're using to already sort of justify their rankings. Is there any new tagline like game control that becomes the hip term nowadays, along with strength of schedule and things like that?
Well, do you think any team will get the Jordan Travis standard applied to it at the end?
Well, there's still games to be played.
Yeah.
So in the next week or two, if somebody loses for example, and I don't want this to happen, but let's just go to their conference. What if Cam Ward goes down?
Yeah. No,
well,
I mean, that's
good news for Miami is they have an easy schedule, so they could maybe manage that.
Still win the ACC, possibly if he was to go out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you still got to beat SMU at this point as the front runner to have to beat. But if you're Cam Ward, I don't know. That's one of those that I don't really like to play that game because, I mean, if that were to happen, which there's a whatever percentage chance that would happen, I don't think it comes into play tonight at all. So, I mean, that's a valid question, but I think we'd have to cross that bridge to make it worth actually discussing.
It's not, I don't think, anything on the plate from those teams today, but next week that might change. But also what might change, even though Florida State is a dog when it comes to their history in college football, it did not help them, no matter who the backup was. And you wonder if that would be the case if it gets to a Notre Dame or a Georgia or Ohio State, Texas, et cetera. Texas, of course, with Arch Manning, that would not be under consideration. They would be fine.
I'll tell you this, I bet it's one of the most, well, I don't know if I'd bet my own money, but I wonder I also don't care about the TV rating for the playoff show.
Oh, God.
But
yeah.
But what I'm saying is I wonder how highly this will be viewed because of the 12-team format versus the last few years where you already know, it's Alabama and Ohio State or Michigan, and then it's the two other, whoever that is, trendy picks, Florida State, Oregon, whoever. Tonight, I wonder if you've got a lot more people watching because there's 8 more spots to fill and then 10 more teams that feel like they can grab one of those extra 8 spots.
No doubt. I mean, when you have Alabama, A&M, 3 SEC teams on what would be, at least from the Coles perspective, it might be completely different tonight with the committee, and also might be the other 5 or 10 or 50 projections. It could be different. But that's not a bad list. 3 from the SEC, 4 from the Big Ten. Eventually, there'll be a couple of that will eat each other up. Maybe doesn't hurt them at all. Not sure about that. But appreciate those of you today who are watching us in 3 different ways. One on Twitter at 365 Sports YT, and I see that. We appreciate you. Also, Sikkim 365 app, and that also will give you the video if you set it up right. And then, of course, on YouTube with 365 Sports.
My one observation on her list is just her list, and it's fluid, but 4 of the top 8 from the Big Ten. So, I mean, and those are all good teams, but that's just what jumps off to me is, I like how even it is across the board. The Big Ten having 4, you look at the team's records, you can understand that. I don't know if they've got 4 of the top 8 teams that are the best in the country, but she's also a Big Ten gal nowadays.
An
NBC,
you're right.
Maybe there's some of that. I don't know.
Good. Another media outlet.
She's a Big Ten gal anyway because she's Michigan.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to, put that on
her.
But,
of the 4 Big Ten teams that at least, whether they're in the top 12 or in the top 8, Oregon has earned it. They're unanimous at AP. They beat Ohio State, who's at 5, who then beat Penn State. Indiana is undefeated for now, and I hope they run the table. I really hope so. That would also mean that they beat Ohio State, which would be damaging to the Buckeyes. And then Penn State, probably a little highly overmodulated here, but at the same time for now at number 8.
A little highly overmodulated. They're the overmodulated team. I have no problem defending this to the death. An 11-1 Penn State team, to me, if I was on the committee, I'd be like, they're not in the playoff. I will not vote them in. They did not have the schedule. They would do that shit to Iowa State.
You and your mouth.
I know. I'm sorry. But they would. They would absolutely do it to Iowa State. They should do it to Penn State. If Iowa State,
and they'll do it to SMU and anyone else.
Exactly,
yeah.
But they won't do it to Penn State, and it doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, hey, man, they beat an Illinois team that was ranked in the top 25, and then they beat that other – oh, wait, no, they haven't beat anybody that's currently ranked in the top 25. It's just Illinois. So, yeah, that one I don't think holds up necessarily the way that some of the others do. But some of the pollsters disagree. And
Illinois is not ranked anymore.
That's what I said.
Oh, I thought you said that is still – okay, yeah.
So they beat a team that's no longer in the top 25. And besides that, they have no other top 25 wins.
All right, we will have today on the show, we'll have our Big 12 pod. We'll do that around the corner at 3:40 with the four corner schools. Shahan Jaraja, he will join us from CBS Sports. He's the one that wrote the column last week about the Big 12 quarterback tiers, and then also his thoughts about the projection going out tonight, the standings. JJ Joe, Baylor color analyst. Craig's off the radar. Evan Miyakawa. Oh, my God. Baylor got embarrassed by Gonzaga last night, but Texas A&M, Texas, and Baylor all losing on night number one. He'll join us. John McClain and also Paul's top five. We'll get to Gonzaga, Baylor, and college basketball in a minute. All right, so Jaden Mayava apparently will get the start. USC is in a funk. They're playing a team in another funk, and more on them in a minute. These are two teams, Nebraska and USC, that are stuck in the mud. But Mayava is going to get the start. He, of course, has also been at UNLV. And so USC with Moss, who looked really good for a long time, but they're looking to get a kickstart. Your thoughts about Jaden Mayava getting the start, the UNLV transfer?
He played really, really well for UNLV last year. So we'll see. He went to try to start. Miller Moss, I don't think, is the biggest problem with USC. I mean, he's just been kind of there the last four games, but so is USC as a collective team. So I don't know. Maybe he'll jumpstart it. Maybe he won't. But bad vibes in Southern California right now.
Yeah, he was pretty good at UNLV last year, and that was thought to be a big loss. And they go out and get Matthew Sluka, and then that turns out to be the situation that turned into, where he obviously takes his ball and heads to the transfer portal, and now they're not even fretting it. They're just moving on about their business. But, yeah, I thought Mayava might be a loss for them, but kudos to Barry Odom for just, plowing on through and not even acting like there was any speed bumps whatsoever to have to worry about. I mean, that's a testament to him and his program, but this is obviously desperate times if you're USC. Not to say you're desperate for putting Jaden Mayava at quarterback, but I think you've got to do something to shake up the status quo. It's not working, and so, you're hoping that he can give you a spark and give you some of that good stuff that he had for the running Rebs last year. But if you're USC right now, this is not the season that you were planning on having. To now pivot away from Miller Moss, I think it's another blow to your ego a little bit, but you've got to try something out if you're Lincoln Riley. So it only makes sense to hopefully get a little bit of, like I said, a spark from this move here.
And then there is a young man. Well, he's not young, but Dana Holgorsen. He's been all around West Virginia, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, of course, most recently at Houston. He was an analyst. I was today having lunch with a couple of coaches in high school that were at TCU, said that, they thought he was going to end up helping them. Maybe he did for a week or two like Gary Patterson did at Baylor. But Dana Holgorsen, not only Dana Holgorsen, but also Nebraska's Matt Rule, bringing in his buddy who's been in the studio, our great friend Phil Snow, to give them a set of eyes during their off week.
And you can see where he's been with Matt Rule. That's what I put, was the times he's been with Matt Rule. But since Phil Snow is our friend, he gets his own graphic. He shares with no one. So
no. He is. He's our buddy. So, but Dana Holgorsen knows his offense. I was talking to Joe Gillespie, the head coach at Midway High School. He said the guy knows his offense. He should be able to see a few things to give Coach Satterfield and Nebraska some sort of spark. Whether or not he has time to do it remains to be seen.
Good for Dana getting a little check here and there to go sit in and watch film and figure out problems for programs suffering from offensive issues like Nebraska and like TCU. And I know with TCU is more just like helping out the defense and giving them more of a scouting here. I think he will probably have more of a hand in the actual offense here at Nebraska because they need it desperately. I mean, it's not working out well. And here's the thing, folks. Matt Rule's teams have never been great offensively. Like, they never were, like, big, splashy, high-powered offenses. They are more Big Ten football, 3 yards in a cloud of dust type of offenses, and he leaned heavy on the run game when he was here. And they just don't seemingly have that ability right now to do that. And you've got a young quarterback who's prone to make mistakes because of his age and his inexperience, and he's kind of going through the fire right now. So I think it's become, a pretty glaring issue that needs some attention. And if you got some smart minds out there like a Dana Holgorsen who can help you out, throw him a call and see what he can do to try and maybe do enough to have you win another game and get bowl eligible.
They are, and I know them. I mean, I am not a coach, but I could tell early in the year they were playing at such a high level defensively that maybe that would give them a chance to win 7 or 8 games because, well, I never have trusted the offense, whether Raiola started off well or not, or Nair, who was fantastic and caught a touchdown in that game last weekend. They can't run the ball. They don't have anybody that's going to go, which should be 4 yards that's 8, or no yards that's 2. They don't have anybody. They got a couple of guys that are pretty good, but they don't have anybody that really can give them any kind of oomph when it comes to the run game.
Yeah, and that's surprising. I mean, Raiola will get some good coaching from Holgorsen. That guy knows quarterbacks. He knows offense, so that'll be productive, I'm sure. And some of that's just going to take some time with him. But the run game, or lack thereof, is definitely surprising because of what I just said a few moments ago. Yep. Matt Rule is a run-heavy guy. If he had his way, his offenses would run, and then just play good defense. But to see a Nebraska offense where they're not really capable of running the ball, and then that means you're relying on a true freshman quarterback to sling it around for you.
Who other teams now have tape on.
Yeah. So I don't know, that's surprising to me that they got caught in that trap, if you will. I thought he'd maybe have planned on that possibility and pivoted and had more of a backup plan as far as a running game goes. But it is what it is, and so we'll see if Dana Holgorsen can give them something of a spark, since this is the spark segment apparently. But much like Lincoln Riley changing quarterbacks, go get some fresh eyes on your offense and see if he sees something that'll help.
Yep. The writers, the columnists, those who analyze up in Lincoln and Omaha, they are on them big time as far as both Rule and also Satterfield, the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and look, I don't know what these guys can do in this short amount of time, but maybe they can help them get to a bowl game, and then when they're in the bowl game, they can help them move forward. I think when you've got a talent, though, like Dylan Raiola, who Matt has never had a quarterback like that, ever. Like somebody that's that highly recruited that has that kind of talent level, you might need to bring in a different system because I don't know if he's playing the system that fits him exactly right now.
Who?
Raiola.
Yeah,
no, I think they could, or they're not using.
If you can't run the ball, he's not really a dual threat guy. He can run it. He did pretty well against Ohio State, but he's not going to like somebody that's going to get loose and turn the corner. And he's not big, and you saw him get hit in the back late in the game that kept him out for a few plays. But the Matt Rule juice is running its there's no change. But that people are kind of like, okay, you've talked a lot. We bit into it, but here they are in the same position. Who knows? USC, Wisconsin, Iowa to close out their season. Julian Lewis is a heck of a player. Quarterback, highly 5-star. He is committed to USC, but this story from Tom Loy, visiting Indiana this weekend for their game against Michigan. Hey, what Cignetti's doing, catching people's eyes, he has a very fun offense to run, and at least he's going to give a chance to look around and see what's going on in Bloomington.
Yeah, I love this for them. I mean, is Julian Lewis going to commit there? We don't know. He's also visited Colorado. Is he going to commit there? We don't know. But the fact that he's getting these guys in the room right now, I think it's a huge deal. I think it's a really huge deal.
Yeah, this is just more bad news for Lincoln Riley, potentially, as he's got this young man committed and set to go to USC, but clearly he's crossing his T's and dotting his I's and keeping his ears and eyes open to all possibilities, and why wouldn't you, especially if the team you're committed to is struggling pretty mightily, and you don't quite know what the future holds there. But at the same time, you're getting a lot of love, and there's a really red-hot program with a fun offense and a pretty entertaining head coach that's making some waves. So, yeah, if you're a big-time prospect and you have any level of interest, why not go check it out and see for yourself? So I think that's nothing but great news for Indiana. Doesn't mean anything other than they're getting a visit, but sometimes when you look at programs that are turning around, it's just simply getting guys you wouldn't have gotten to visit previously that all of a sudden are showing interest in you, and every once in a while you show enough interest, you actually pull one of those guys, maybe pull a couple of those guys. Next thing you know, you're pulling a higher, and just you got to get the ball rolling somewhere. So certainly having one of the best players in the entire country coming to visit is going to be appealing to other recruits, and it's going to get fans excited, and there's just nothing but positives that come with that. So that's big for Indiana, and that's another concern.
I just think him visiting. Don't you think this is an uptick, whether he commits there or not?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. That you simply see guys come and visit was my whole thing. Yeah, it's a big deal to even get him on campus. So another thing where you look at Lincoln Riley, though, and say, man, how sturdy is this house of cards that it appears you live in out in Malibu or wherever it is that he eventually planted his feet out in Los Angeles. Yeah, another thing to just maybe fret over if you're a USC fan potentially.
There's always a bunch of nominations for the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award compiled, Craig, and then I'm a voter. There's always it's interesting to kind of watch as the votes come down. But Bryson Washington, Baylor running back, 196 yards, the 4 touchdowns in the win against TCU, including a run at the end of the game that set up a much easier, manageable field goal for Isaiah Hankins, has been named the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award winner. Baylor's now had their name in this mix. And listen, on an offense that struggled for a couple of years, it wasn't something you saw very often, but Bryson Washington getting a lot of publicity after what he did. Keenan Hall sent me a text the other day. I say that this guy's he's got that. He goes, he just knows how to handle, depending on the play call, whatever it is, what he's doing. When there's an opportunity, he's going to take advantage of it. And again, I think he can go matrix and go liquid sometimes when there's just a bunch of bodies in between the guard, the tackles, and the center.
He's the most diversely talented back of the three that they have.
Really only kind of 2 at this point.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because Richard Reese isn't really doing much, but which I don't. Someone's going to have to explain that to me, how he's been, like.
Based on what I've seen, he's got to play better.
Yeah, but I guess so. But, where did it go? Like, what happened? Because
one thing Bryson will do, and we know Pennington will do this, is he will punch you in the mouth with pass protection.
Yeah.
He's not a big guy, but he's thick.
Bryson's got more moves. Pennington has a move. Pendergrass has a move. He used it once. Yeah. But he's not gonna spin and all that stuff. Bryson Washington can kind of do it all. So
Dawson Pendergrass is a nice number 2 guy. Richard Reese is just sort of there, and you saw the other night, like, they hand him the ball, he gets dropped immediately at the line, it puts him behind the sticks, and like next thing you know, they're punting it back to TCU after all this momentum of running the football. It's like they gave it to him and just momentum stopped dead in its tracks. And I don't think he might have even gotten a carry after that, Richard Reese. But yeah, I mean, I'm a Richard Reese fan, but his high moments were also 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. He didn't have a good year last year, was hardly involved at all. And then he's been passed up now by a couple of guys younger than him in Pendergrass and also now Bryson Washington. So, yeah, I don't know. Dominic Richardson's been hurt all year long. He's basically been a non-factor. So it's really those 2 guys that are kind of leading the charge right now. But congrats to Bryson Washington. I mean, they are definitely lighting up offensive award list more in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks than they did the entire year a year ago. So that's been a big boost, an exciting thing to see, and he was certainly deserving. He thought he might win Big 12 Player of the Week, but Cam Scatterbo had the game that he had. And quite frankly, I do have to wonder, I know that the Big 12, at least the way that it used to go, because I used to have a vote for 1 year, they rotated it. They just reach out and they pick people to help vote on this, and they give you a little thing at the end of the week to just click your selection. Cam Scatterbo has been Offensive Player of the Week 4 times. He's been really good, but 4 times, I don't know. So last week you could have probably made the argument, but he had an incredible game, 100 yards receiving and was it nearly 200 on the ground? I forget the exact totals. I mean, he had a monstrous game, so I'm not saying he wasn't deserving, but damn, I didn't realize it had been 4 weeks that he's been Offensive Player of the Week out of, 9 total weeks? So that's pretty impressive, and yeah, going to be hard for anybody to match that with only a month, or it's going to be impossible, really, probably for anybody to match that. I don't know how often somebody's won that many times in a given year, but that's a testament to Cam Scatterbo.
No question about it. Nicholas Braxton, by the way, guys, Lewis canceled his visit to Indiana. That was a story by Tom Loy earlier today, and I just asked Nicholas if he would update us. I do know Colorado is in the mix. Yeah, they have been in that mix too. The USC commit right now at quarterback. So last night in college basketball, the state of Texas, Texas lost to Ohio State. Baylor was absolutely humiliated at Gonzaga in a game that was very late last night. And also A&M lost to UCF. And this is what UCF put up today, or put up on their Twitter feed. Winner. It just means more is part of the deal there. UCF with a win against one of the higher-ranked teams, at least now, in what Texas A&M has with Buzz Williams. That's a great win for UCF. Kendall Kaut put this note up about Gonzaga. I can't remember Baylor ever giving up close to that kind of total, 1.4 points per possession. Middle to late second half defense was the softest I've ever seen from a Baylor team that ran through Gonzaga, or that ran where Gonzaga had open threes, often open threes after open three after open three in the second half. I watched part of the game, then eventually at halftime just kind of turned away, didn't miss anything else because that was an absolute humiliation last night. Craig, you stay up late. Did you watch that?
No, I don't have anything on the Baylor thing. I mean, I have some thoughts, but I didn't stay up to watch most of that. On the Julian Lewis thing, I did go look, and there's one person out there. Now, if it's on Instagram, I'm not seeing it. I'm just looking at X. But if that's out there somewhere else, then thanks for passing that along. I did see like one person, and I'm not sure how valid it is, that said Julian Lewis is not visiting, to your point. So I'm sure that will be confirmed elsewhere, and we can follow up on that. And if so, maybe that's great news for Colorado. I mean, there's still that Big 12 tie-in potentially that would make it of interest, more interest to us. But, yeah, thanks for that. And then on that UCF win, that was a big deal. A&M was firing off shot after shot after shot after shot at the end and was just bricking them. I mean, they could have built a house with the number of bricks they threw up there at the end of the game. That was a hell of a win for UCF. It looked like it was a great atmosphere. And, talk a little smack, man. That was the first big night of basketball, and they're not a team that you're really eyeing the way you're eyeing some other teams in the Big 12, but I think the energy just of the conference can kind of carry over and bring an excitement level, especially at the beginning of the year. And so to go out and get a top 25 win like that, that's a big deal for that program and a really nice start. So that was cool. But as far as Baylor, I don't have anything at the moment.
I got some Big 12 notes here in basketball. We'll have Evan Mayakawa on. He'll join us at 5:10 or so with some of his analytics.
I couldn't stay up that late and watch it, but again, didn't miss what should have been a better.
You're so soft.
I am. I'm soft, but I don't care. I mean, I'm not going to stay up late and watch a basketball game.
Oh, I didn't watch the end of it. No.
Here's the thing. I would not have watched it from about halfway through looking at the game notes and the track. I would have stopped
when I did.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Late part of the first half. Yeah. Here's a note about the Big 12. And a lot of times you don't open up with playing a Gonzaga or playing some of the teams that are highly ranked, even a KU or whatever. So everybody last night who played in the Big 12 won. Arizona State, BYU, K-State, and Texas Tech did not play. Here are the plus margins of the wins. 30, 57, 39, 29, 3. That was UCF, or Cincinnati, excuse me. UCF. 55, 28, 46, 41, 13, and 20. Those were the spreads, the margin. And usually the first game, you don't want to dive into the big lake. With Baylor playing Gonzaga in a game that was going to be initially a neutral site, they had to change it. And Gonzaga is loaded. I think Baylor will be fine. But, man, that could be a scar that lasts for quite some time. And their schedule, what do they have? Arkansas around the corner and a few others, St. John's, and not to mention inside of the Big 12. Ohio State beat Texas by 8, and then we saw the UCF score and win against Texas A&M. Now, we have today guests on the show to look at the college football projections. We have guests today to look at the Big 12 in general when it comes to football. Tomorrow, Utah, BYU, Holy War, right? We have Greg Wrubell, the voice of BYU, and we also have Stevenson Sylvester, former player and also color analyst for Utah, on the show. And Fox Sports' Brock Heward, broadcast analyst, will join us tomorrow, one of the guests we have on the show about many things in college football. Gary Barnett, former Colorado coach, who's a part of their radio broadcast, will also be a part of the lineup tomorrow. So a lot to get to today. Garrett Ross running the mothership. Emery Winter, of course, helping us with what he does and already starting to kind of look ahead to what we have tonight at 10:30 on 365 Sports Tonight. Anything I have not hit that we need to talk about before we break for the Four Corners pod?
No, I don't think so.
No, not that I can think of, unless y'all just want to get deeper into that Baylor game. But I don't know if you're saving that.
I don't know what you could get deeper into. Evan
enough.
will give us some analytics. That was an ass kicking, pure and simple. You're going to have one of those where you just have a bad night. From what I saw, Baylor couldn't hit the three. They were like 2 of 13, and Gonzaga was like 6 of 16. Baylor did not always do well when it came to the boards. I like what I saw with a couple of Celestine. I thought that but they got a guard. They didn't guard. They got a guard. That's their mentality. That's how they won a national title. Davion Mitchell and or Flo Thamba with what he can do, or Mark Vidal, they're not walking through that arena, the Foster Pavilion. Those guys were special and very different. They were stoppers, and Baylor's got to figure out who that's going to be. Jaden Nunn at times gave them a spark, but Gonzaga just absolutely, in their home arena, felt very comfortable. You could see that from the beginning. It was like 8-1 and then 9-8 Baylor, and then it was over after that.
They would have, I think, they would have lost no matter what, but they do also look like a team who has played about 5 minutes together. I mean, like, you look at the lineup, Jean Wuna, Jaden Nunn, like those are the guys who started last year for him, and then everybody else is new.
No.
Everybody else is new.
No.
And so that's –
But they have Arkansas coming up next, and we know that's Calipari, and you know what he's put together. So it's going to be interesting to see if they come back. That game is up. I think that game's in Dallas. Isn't it? Yeah, it's at the American Airlines Center in Dallas coming up this weekend.